beautiful decor we made behind us. You should see, I could turn around the camera later on and you can see what we all did. I think if you can lift it up a little later on, Richard, that will be great. Okay, let me start. So I said, I envy people. I envy people that can make money from their creative ideas. And I think it's a gift. And there's a philosopher called, an American philosopher called Daniel Dennett. And he said, the secret to happiness is finding something more important than you are and dedicating your life to it. Finding something more important than you are and dedicating your life to it. And this is how I get into the theme of ripple. The ripple we are talking about when we're talking about Creative Mornings. And it's the difference between this importance. It's the difference between, sorry, a little higher. This is better, right? Now we got the right height. So finding something more important than you are, and the importance, it makes the difference, and the importance is you. And it's the difference between that drop for that ripple. I mean, you have the drop that can fall into a still, serene lake, create that ripple, and push on, perpetuate, and grow. And you can have that drop on a hot summer day, fall onto the tarmac, and go psh, and evaporate. And that is how, and I guess that is the question, how can you make your idea, ripple through society? Now today, this morning, as you have your coffee, I want to share a story with you, a story I've shared many times before. But this time, as I was preparing for this story, I started to realize that this story is actually a story about the power of creativity, the power of creativity. Now, to tell this story, I need, for this angle, this power of creativity, I need to go back to my teens. I've always loved to draw and loved to create, make music, maybe like many of you have done in your teens. And but I never felt the urge, I never felt or had the imagination maybe to make my livelihood from that, to pursue a career in the creative business, as many of you have done, probably. I studied biology. Well, biology is, of course, fascinating and endlessly creative. After that, I became a teacher, a biology teacher. So I had all these kids in class in front of me. And kids, of course, are very creative because they don't have the constraints that adults have yet. And I can tell you, I had very creative ideas coming in from their projects, from their assignments. And I can tell you the moment they were at their utmost creativity was the moment they had to make up excuses why they handed in their assignments late. So I taught for 2 years, and then I stopped. I quit my job. I thought, I'm going to start a career in consultancy or something in an office. But before I did that, I wanted to pursue a dream. And my dream was to go surfing for a year to see what it is to be a surfer. I'd been surfing for all my life. So I'm going to share my screen now, and the technician has just gone. So one participant can share a screen. Let me see. Share screen. There I am. Okay. Let me share my screen. No, this is the wrong one. Share screen. You can see me? Yeah, there I am. So I had this dream. I wanted to see what it was like to be a surfer for a year. I'd been reading all these windsurfing magazines since I was 8, and I thought I want to be a surfer. And this was what I imagined. I wanted to go somewhere where, you could surf all day, but I didn't have any money. I just quit my job. I didn't have any money, and the location closest by was actually Morocco. So I got on my bike and I cycled to Morocco with a kite surfing board behind my bicycle. And it's on the beaches of Morocco that I decided, of course, surfing all day. Let me tell you, surfing all day is very boring and very dull. So I was on the beach in Morocco in the sun. I thought, what am I going to do when I come back? And I thought, I'm going to become a visual artist. And I got on my bike and I cycled back to the Netherlands to become a visual artist. And what we did is I started an art collective. And that art collective, what we did was we made a sort of sculpting graffiti. So we went to the beach at night with our chisels and hammers, and we would sculpt a statue from one of these wooden poles you find on the beach. Now, that created a lot of attention. And then we expanded our working ground to the city center of Leiden. And in that process, that's how I learned to talk to the media. That's how I learned to talk to the officials. And that's something I really used later on in my campaigning. So I learned 3 things. I learned to deal with journalists and officials and, well, to use my voice. I also learned that every project, I think this is a very important thing I learned. I learned that every project you do should start from your own core values. And the last thing I learned, this is quite fun. The last thing I learned is that if you ever feel that you want to erect a sculpture somewhere illegally, don't do that at night, but do that in the daytime with an orange vest, a lot of coffee, and a large transistor radio, so you don't get noticed. Act like one of them when you're doing things that are illegal, and you won't get noticed. I was still surfing, and I was finding that plastic being washed up on the beach, and I thought, I'm going to make a statement. So this is 7 years ago. I thought, I want to make a statement. What I did is I built a surfboard from that plastic trash I found on the beach. Very heavy board, and I surfed it for 350 kilometers. 350 kilometers. And I always say I got on as an artist, on an artwork, and I got off as a plastic activist, as the plastic soup surfer. Now, awareness is great, because this was all about awareness. We attracted a lot of attention doing it. It was all about awareness. But there's one thing much more important, and that is stopping plastic pollution at the source. So 2 years later, I built another surfboard because I wanted to stop the pollution of small plastic bottles. These small plastic bottles, I don't know if you see me in my screen, but these small plastic bottles are littered, 57 million of these each year, which means over 100,000 each day. Now, to stop this, there's of course a solution, and it's called bottle deposits. Now, back in 2016, we just prevented the abolition of all deposits from plastic bottles. But now I thought we need deposits on small plastic bottles. So I built another surfboard, and this time I surfed it from Scheveningen. I took 60 of these bottles and I surfed it from Scheveningen to England. Now, I did not do that because I wanted a line in the Guinness Book of World Records. It would have been nice. But I did that because I wanted deposits on these small plastic bottles. And this was the start. This was the start to a petition for bottle deposits on these small plastic bottles. And I managed to gather 55,000 signatures. And with those signatures, I went to The Hague, to Parliament. And it was Valentine's Day 2017. And instead of, I mean, I guess this is creativity too. Instead of taking 55,000 signatures on paper, I took 55,000 sugar hearts and I handed those to the politicians over there. But I had something else with me. It's something sly. I gave them those sweets, but I wanted something in return. I wanted their signature. I'd written a resolution myself using the same formal language they do in Parliament. And that resolution read, we want 90%, we 55,000 people, we want 90% littered plastic bottles, of these small plastic bottles within 3 years, 90% less. Well, everybody understood that there's only one way to achieve that, and that is through bottle deposits. And the great thing is, everybody over there signed my resolution. This was something we made for them, well, for the cameras, but we also had them sign the real resolution. And 2 days later, this is where it really becomes amazing. 2 days later, my resolution was adopted by Parliament without vote. And it's that resolution that is used as the basis for the policy that with which we will now see the expansion of bottle deposits, and we will see bottle deposits on small plastic bottles the 1st of July this year. So this was the basis to that. Well, I guess back to our theme and back to the core, back to the drive. Where does the drive come from? I guess there's a certain anger. And for me, it's not that, you know, I don't like to see that I'm annoyed by the view of plastic or litter paper litter. It's the fundamental thing that plastic does not biodegrade at all, which means that everything that is dumped in nature stays there forever. Plastic relates to the ecosystem just as Superman relates to normal humans. Plastic is indestructible. It will stay in nature forever, not go away. Every time we inhale, we actually inhale microplastics at this moment, nano and microplastics. Of course, we don't know. It's just in the air from our clothing, from car tires. Everything around us is plastic by now. We need to handle this much more responsibly. But with anger alone is not enough, of course. What you need is to focus that anger and to not burn out. You need to be creative and have fun doing it. So back to my story. I had those politicians with their promise. Well, what's a promise from a politician? You need more. You need the companies too. There's always three. If you're talking about ripples, there's always three important forces that you need to balance. You have societal pressure, you have policy, and you have the money, the companies. And those three are the forces you need to manage if you want to make that change. So I wanted to talk to Coca-Cola. I built another board. This time, it was a stand-up paddle board, and I paddled it all the way down the River Rhine, 1,000 kilometers. And I did that to show that rivers are actually the largest contributors, the way of the transport of plastic from inland to the sea. that plastic pollution problem does not start in the oceans or in the sea or in the river. It starts inland, and we should look it up at the source. So what I did was I took litter from that river and I brought it back to the source, the real source of the plastic, which were those company CEOs. And I did that with a bailiff. So this is this is one of the supermarkets. We went to 5 supermarkets and also to Coca-Cola, 5 soda companies, and we made them formally aware of their plastic. And that really helped make that policy, the policy in which we will see deposits on small plastic bottles by July. Now, plastic and littering is as old as civilization. I mean, plastic or littering is as old as civilization. If you have litter from 500 years old, we actually have it in archaeological, we show it in archaeological museums. I mean, litter from 500 years ago, you see it. That's what you get to see when you're in an archaeological museum, the things people left. So to tackle litter, to tackle plastic pollution, we are actually tackling a human behavior, and we really need to focus our fight. So what we do is, well, we built a community. One of the people I work with a lot is called Dirk Groot. He's a litter analyst, and we use these apps to have people make photographs. And Dirk Groot came to me, the Zwervenator came to me when we're talking about, in this particular case, with wrappers, plastic wrappers, which he and other litter pickers had photographed. And we went up to that company, to the Antiflu company, and we asked them to make those wrappers from wax paper. And they did. It took them 2 years. So this is 3 years ago. Took them 2 years. And this year, they actually changed their wrapping from plastic to wax paper wrappers. And they even, in the process, they got this prize as well. So which is great. And with this community, we've achieved a lot more change. One of the things last year's winter, we had companies like HEMA, like Albert Heijn, recall all of their plastic fireworks with plastic. And we actually had all plastic banned from fireworks in the Netherlands. And after that, we went over to balloons, water balloons, which were also taken from all these retail stores like bol.com and Kruidvat. Kruidvat started it and ended it with bol.com. So this summer, you won't be able to buy water balloons anymore. Think about it. These things, these items are designed to be thrown on the ground. They are designed literally throwaway plastic, designed to throw on the ground. Exactly the same as the fireworks I was talking about. And we went up to these companies and they understood we don't want to sell this anymore. And they took it from their stores. And with that, we went up to the European Parliament and we called on the Commission and we had an amendment to a resolution, which was, partly adopted, but we are still doing our best to get that in the European legislation at the highest level. Now, 2016, I was on the beach, ready to kite surf over from Scheveningen to England. And at that moment, people weren't very aware of plastic pollution. People weren't talking about deposits for small plastic bottles. They weren't. And now, 5 years later, there's a huge awareness on that plastic pollution, and that we should do a lot more. We have the Single-Use Plastics Directive from the EU coming. A lot of politicians use that in their campaigns, and of course, companies are also very much aware of what they should be doing with plastic. Let me one back. Unshare my screen. Let me see how to stop share. There I am. Yeah, here I am. Can you see me? Ben ik groot? Am I large in the screen? Okay. So I started my talk. About the power of creativity and my decision to quit my job to see what life as a surfer was like. And in the end, I found something that was more important than myself, and I dedicated my life to it. And that adventure has still not ended. And I guess that is my message to you. You creatives, you have a voice. Use that voice. Use your creativity. You have the power to surprise. And look for that urgency in yourself. What is it you would do if you did not get any money for it? What would you do? What would you work for, even if you didn't get any money for it? And my advice is, be ambitious, but start with small steps and, well, get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone, leave behind all those uncertainties from time to time, because I can tell you, I have learned that no matter what, you will land on all fours, just as a cat. Now, every long journey starts with a small step, a bold step, and it can be the origin. It can be that first drop that can start that ripple that can go right through society. Thank you very much. Last thing I'd like to say is, please go to YouTube and subscribe to the Plastic Soup Surfer channel. You can really help me out over there, or go to, if you want to know anything about the latest projects we're working on, follow me on Instagram and you'll see all the spectacular things we are doing. Thank you very much.